In the beginning, in 1993, I started to ride Bitless with a rope halter, just with that. And the reins were below, like a bosal. And I did everything with that. I was not aware of the biomechanics and so on. For me, it was very important to have a nice relationship and that a horse was calm and relaxed and focused, and that was fine. But also there, I could feel there is still something wrong. Problems in the back. My horses had not such a nice shape, not a beautiful round top line that I had before when I was a jumping rider. So I thought there is something missing. And then by coincidence I saw a DVD of Ben Branderup, and that was in 2009. And after looking to this DVD, I said to Pascal, my wife, where can I find this guy? This is the missing link. This is what we need in our structure. So we went to a clinic. Ben came to a clinic nearby, and giving a clinic nearby. And our first question was, can we do it bitless? And Ben answered us, you can do it with nothing if you like. So we went to Ben with our bitless bridle. But I saw on that clinic, they also had a Cavesal, rings above. And I thought, so they were riding with a bit and rings on the nose, with 2 reins. And I started to understand why, because they needed the stellum and the bending. And I could not give a proper stelling with this bridle. And then, of course, I changed into a rope halter with rings above. I thought, wow, that's the solution. Now I can ride also with 2 reins. And it felt really nice. And also because in my basic riding, I really love to have reins below, because I want to stop my horses with the rein contact on the neck. And we teach that in the basic riding. I can show it what I mean. So you see the reins are very short together. And if I lift now my reins, you see the knots will touch the neck, the wide neck muscle. And that is really important. That was really important in my basic riding, and in that way I could stop my horses very softly without pressure on the nose. And then, of course, after that I could ride with a neck rope. And when I went to Ben for the first time with this bridle, everything seems to be fine. Ben was teaching me and explained me a lot of the biomechanics and how I can shape the horse and how I could bring the horse in balance, make the horse supple. So that was really nice. After a week we went home and I started to practice with my bridle. And then suddenly a month later he called us, are you ready for a clinic? And we say, yes. But we were actually not ready, but we did it. And in that clinic, I was working again with my bridle, where I was working in Denmark with. And then in the 3rd lesson, I started to do a little bit collection. And then Ben mentioned to me, now you will see this bridle is not good enough. Because in the collection, you will make the neck short. And I told him, yeah, maybe if I do a lot of groundwork and so on, then it's maybe possible to do it with this bridle. No, you need something else. I think you will need a bit, otherwise it is not possible. And I said, yeah, but I don't want to ride with a bit, and so on and so on. But I had already tried, private, that nobody could see it, with a hackamore and Cavesal noseband. Something like this, that you can see here. You see, it's just a rope halter with a hackamore and a noseband. So I spoke about him, what you think about that? Because I didn't dare to show it to my students in that moment. I was a horsemanship man. No hackamore, you know. Are you crazy riding with a hackamore? That was not allowed in that time. So I spoke about him, and all my students were in this clinic watching as a viewer. And then he said, I spoke about the hackamore, and he said, wow, that could be a solution for the bitless riders. So I took my hackamore and my Cavesal combination, and I started to train with that. Of course, for me it was, I had stallions, and I saw a lot of difficulties and challenges because I was not really happy with it. I lost my connection with my reins because they were wider open. So that was really hard for me, but I thought, okay, bend will be right. Let's continue with that. Maybe it will go better later. But of course, as you can see, actually it was not that bridle where I started with. It was more this bridle. And then you can see clearly the angle of the shanks is completely different. So, but my stallions were biting in this shank and were quite nervous. So I thought maybe I have to change the angle, and I made it warm so I could change it, and then they could not bite. And that was one thing that I solved. They could not bite in the bridle anymore, but still, if I took this rein, this was going into the bones of the horse, and they didn't like it. So I thought by myself, I will never be able to ride with one rein. I always will need two reins, because I cannot ask for correction aid and give the stallion from the lower rein. So things like that were my concern, and I thought I have to find for other solutions. And then I came to the idea, maybe because I was used to ride with a bridle, with the rope halter as a bridle, so I thought maybe we should connect the shanks. You see, and then we came more to this type. Also the stirrup type, which I can show you. You see, the stirrup type is able to move. The round type is one piece. And the difference is that when I feel, for example, that the head is not really soft, then I can work a little bit with different movements so that I can make the head soft. This, for example, the advantages of this bridle is that it is one piece, and when I work with this bridle, it will not touch the saliva glands and the bones, because it is one piece. The pressure will only be above and below. And I could feel my horses were quite happy with it, with the evolution of the cavemore. This is what we call the cavemore. But still, I could not stop with searching for another bridle, a better bridle. And for what reason I was still searching? First of all, for practical reasons, and on the other hand, for functional reasons. Practical, I was used to a rope halter, just one rope halter. You could tie your horse up, you could lead your horse, you could ride your horse with that. Even we did in that time the lunging. I was not aware that it was wrong, because we turned the head in the wrong direction, but it was very nice to have just one bridle for everything, even loading in the trailer, so that was quite okay. But then, of course, after meeting Bent and working with this Cavesal, the bridle with the rope halter with the reins above, as you can see, when I was lunging, it was turning. You see? Because I could not fit it quite well. And then on the outside the eyes were disturbed, and so it was not really perfect. And then I thought, if I can make a bridle that I can fit everything, and that I can still use my reins short to the neck, like with this rope halter, that would be perfect. So this is how the Cavesal arose. I made it from leather. I separated every piece and measured the head, and for that I could fit it perfectly. And now, for example, if I do my basic riding, and I ride only with a bridle, with the reins below, then I can lose the nose bend, like this, because I don't want stellung, the behind nose bend. And then you see, then it's more movable, and then it works more like a bridle. When I touch there, you see, I have a small reaction from silencio, and that is nice. But if I want to shape and work on balance, that would be not nice if I have a rope here, but then you see this is going in this direction and it goes over. So then I can shape it again, make it that it fits better. It still has to be loose, but it cannot turn around. And then we have the behind attachment. Also, this is nice to have an angle here and to support the eye, that the leather piece is not turning into the eye anymore. Which was also important, that you see here you have the bump of the upper molars, and here you have the soft skin. These are the saliva glands. And if you do your nose bend, for example, too high, and you make a turn, you will turn this into this soft skin into the upper molars, which they are very sharp, and you make wounds inside. So that is one thing why this bridle has to fit, and why I want this area safe from leather. You can also see it with people who ride with a bit and have the nose bend higher and very tight. Horses, they make foam, but it's just because they cannot swallow. It's very hard for a horse to breathe and to swallow when this is too tight on. But then there's another part. You see this sensitive hair here. That's where horses feel with. So some horses in the beginning are a little bit too sensitive on the hair, and then they start to do. But it's a matter of time that they get used to it, because then the head will be calm, and some horses have no problem with it. Sometimes you have to do it a little bit higher, maybe too much pressure on the saliva. Sometimes you have to do it a little bit lower, because they don't like this pressure on the saliva gland, but they have no problems with the touch of the sensitive hair. So it's a matter of searching a little bit. But we can work with this part to make it shorter or wider, but we can also make this smaller or wider, and also this. So these are all different pieces, and that's why I like the Cavesal, of course. You see, silencio is tied up with the Cavesal, which you can do, but we give no guarantee. If your horse starts to pull, leather will break. And so you can tie your horse up, but if it breaks, it's not for us. That's your responsibility. But it's nice when you have a safe horse to do that. One bridle for everything. It's all about evolution, developing a logical system that horses learn to be education, to be tied up. So you can tie your horse, you can lead your horse. If I come with my horse from the field, I can lead my horse in all positions. You see, that is very nice. If I go in the arena, I can launch my horse, take the carabine off and do it above. So that is also really nice to have, that I can change into my basic groundwork, where we also led the horses. I can also ride with two reins, and that was something which was very important for me, because if we use the Cavesal, that is more for stellung. And if we use the bridle, which I do now, which I attach now. We have 2 reins there, like this. See, then we have 2 reins. And what is nice for that, I still can do in my warming up my basic work, because I have the touch of the big muscle with this rein. And if my horses understand it with a knot, then I don't need the knots anymore on the reins. I can do it without the knots. So you can ride two-handed with 2 reins in every hand. And as you can see, it's the same in your handwork. You see? But I can also ride 3 reins in my right hand, 1 rein in my left hand, which means that I can control the shoulders and give a proper stellung while riding, which we sometimes called in the academic art of riding, you can launch yourself while riding. And of course you can change in this direction, and then you have 3 reins in your left hand and 1 rein in your right hand to do it on the other hand. But we can also ride one-handed, which we do like this. If your horse is well developed and understands the aids, then you see it's nice to ride one-handed and use your whip to support the signals that you give with your legs, with your indirect reins, with your weight, and so on and so on. So very nice to have it. But then my research went further, because with the cavemore, the good thing, the difference between the cavemore and the Cavesal is the chengs. And I don't know how you call that in English, the half-ball. I show it here, then you understand it. You see, if I do this, it's a mechanism that that brings the nose down and the skull out. So that's the difference. The chengs is the difference. And of course, if I was working with my Cavesal, I had this, I was missing that. Okay, no problem. If I went in more to the complicated exercises, I could take the cavemore and I could ride with the cavemore. But now, after a while, I suddenly came to the idea, it's not so complicated actually to do this and to use the Cavesal if you just have only the Cavesal and use the cross underneath the lower jaw. So I show it to you, and it's very easy. If you want to fix it, you need 2 straps. I made it from nylon with 2 rings and 2 clips. So you open the noseband, make a ring in it, and close the noseband again.
Add a ring.
Sorry?
You add a ring.
I add a ring, exactly. No, 1 more. Like that. Oh, and I do it also on the other side. Add the ring. Close the noseband again. Thank you for your patience, Silencio. That I can touch your nose as if it is nothing. And you see, then I take this rein, add my strap to it, go from this ring. Oh no. Good. To this one. Same here. Go from this ring to the other one. You see, and then it's cross under the lower jaw, which means this pressure is also more backwards, and the pressure from the noseband is a little bit more in front, which you will see that he will react when I use it to get more roundness. And thereby you can also ride as if it is a side pull. So that means this bridle is a multifunctional bridle. You can do almost anything with it. The only thing that I don't add to it is that you can ride with a bit. I am a bitless rider. I prefer that people start to be aware that it is possible that you can ride bitless and reach the highest level. And I think that it is a nice idea for the welfare of the horse. So it's a very multifunctional bridle. Very easy to take it off. You open the straps. But also with the cross underneath the lower jaw, you have not the contact anymore, and because it is one of the tools one of the things that we do in all basic riding, we need this connection from the lower part of the neck. You see, when I touch this horse here, he goes backwards, and that's what we train a lot. And it's for me very important for even when I go later into the more complicated exercises like collection. Good.
I have a question, or you want to say probably something else? Some people will ask, when do I need the cross under, or shall I need the cavemore?
Yeah, I prefer still, that's my experience, I prefer to have the cavemore. When do I need the cavemore? When I go more into collection. Don't use the cavemore if the horse is not able to go and walk, trot and canter on a loose rein in a calm and comfortable way, in a relaxed way. And don't use the cavemore if the rider, his hand is not educated. You need a well-educated hand. The cavemore is only there for helping you when the horse is pressing out the underneck, when he makes the neck short. Then the cavemore is a fine tool, but it's still, you have to develop your your feelings, and the cavemore is also not a tool to when you have a nervous horse that you cannot control. Then don't think that you can control it with the cavemore. That will not help you, because I think therefore the cavemore is even too soft. It just take the horse on the upper, on the skull and on the lower jaw, and it's a pressure who is constant, and the horse takes you with him.
Then it's maybe interesting for people to know that if they buy first the Cavesal, they can change the Cavesal into a cavemore.
Yes.
By just adding shanks.
You just have to buy the shanks, and it's a different behind noseband. The buckles standing closer to each other, and the leather pieces are longer.
Yeah.
But it is possible to buy the shanks and a lower noseband.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, if you don't like it to change, then it's better to buy two bridles.
Yeah.
Of course, we need to measure.
Yeah, very important.
Very important. How to measure, and and I will show it. What
do you need?
Do you need? A tool to measure, of course. And you open it, a meter. And then you need a rope. And on the end of the rope, you make a loop.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that. Okay? You can do it maybe better in a stable if your horse is not so safe than this horse. So you close the rope like this. You put the end through the lobe. And the first measurement, I'm not exactly if this is the first one, but it's one of the three. We need 3 measurements, but this is one who is very important. You see, you bring it exactly under the jug bone, very close, on both sides, and then don't be afraid to make a little bit pressure. It doesn't have to hang loose. Just make a little bit pressure like this. Put your thumb and your direction finger on top, and then you take it off.
Yeah.
You open the loop, but keep this steady. Like this. And then you measure. And that's 62. Okay. Then another very important measurement is behind the ears. Very close behind the ears. Like this. And then you measure from jug bone just also under the jug bone and also here. And make also here a little bit pressure. You see, I keep it here. Then I let it go and I measure again. And this is 87. You do this again. You take it and you see here, that's the first molar. It's a little hollowness here. So a little bit above where the saliva glands, the bump of the upper molar and the saliva glands ends is just behind this hole. There you do the same. And don't be afraid to press. Like this. We measure again.
It's also important how you keep your
Yes,
your
it
rope.
should be an
It's
angle.
not like this.
No, 90 degree of the nose bone.
That's for every measure you.
Yes, it's the same. You
Some
see.
people take it like that, or
No, that's not good. You have to look here an angle from 90 degree. Yeah, 90 degree.
Yeah.
Now I have to measure again.
Yes, but that was important.
That was an important question. Well done. So I measure again. There is the hole. Make pressure. More or less 90 degree. Take it away. Open it. And measure again. And then you see 53. And then when we know this, we can send you what you want. Good to know is that we have a test Cavesal. You can use it for 5 days. If you like them, you can buy them. If you don't like them, please send them back in a more or less good shape.
Not more or less, in a decent
Yes, because yeah, we want to sell them to somebody else. Another important thing is how to fit the bridle when you buy him and we send them to you. That means you open the behind attachment, the nose bend so wide as possible, and then it is important that the headpiece is with equal holes on both sides. So I open the left one, bring it over his nose, then the headpiece And then I see here, for example, are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes now. But the first thing where I'm looking for is that where is the first molar? I go into the hole and I feel there is the first molar there. So this plate is allowed to lay on the first molar. It can be, if I look like this, one lower to make it equal. One, two, three, four, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Okay, so 5, 5. It is allowed that you have a change from a difference from one hole on each side.
So you mean 1 on the 4 on the
yeah,
one
from
side and 5 on the
I
other,
count
so
from above, you know. But one hole difference is allowed on one side. Then you have to feel. And depends on what you will do, but if you want to do gymnastic work, then for me, 2 fingers, and there can be a little bit pressure. You see, this is too wide. If you look from here, it's too wide. It's 3 fingers. So then I have to fit, and I prefer to make this shorter instead of this one, because I want this area free. So 1 hole, and also here it's allowed to have it different from 1 hole. I make also this one shorter, like this, see, and then perfect. This is the perfect place for the iron. There is the first molar.
Yeah.
2 fingers can go under, like this.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
Good. And then this is fit. This is fit. That fits. Then you do a little lift from this. You bring this under, and I do the same here,
Okay.
like this. And then I make a little corner in between, in this line. And also here 2 fingers should go underneath the lower jaw.
Yeah, some people put it here.
Yeah, and it should be in front of the cheeks.
Yeah.
Good. So, and then you can have a little end control. You should feel that it is still soft, not too tight. And then you know, for example, I should know now for him, I only open this buckle when I take it off.
Yeah.
No, when I take it off, I just do it over the ears like this. It's the easiest way. If it is too tight, then if you cannot do it, then it is too tight. That's one way that you can control. But now I know, for example, okay, 5 holes from above. When I do it on, I open it again, put the nose in it, like this, bring it over the head, and I just have to count and bring it back to the 5th hole, to the 5th hole. Voila. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And it's ready. In the beginning, when you have when he's new, when you have the Cavesal, you see this is a little bit open here, and this also, and that has to come closer to each other by using it. And then of course you will need to
Adjust again.
adjust again
Yeah, these pieces will get supple.
Yes.
This.
And then it fits
And then
better,
it fits,
and then
yeah.
you have to adjust a little bit more.
Okay.
But as you can see, this bridle fits nice now, and it's not so complicated to fit.
Yeah.
Good.
We have also the reins, of course, that are sold with, can be sold with the Cavesal
Ah, yeah.
or the
Okay, I can
cavemore.
explain a little bit about this. One is white, one is in brown, one is in black. No, they are both brown.
Yeah, yeah.
I bought 2 pair of reins and I changed the color also. It's also nice to have, but then you need 2 pairs of reins, okay? It's the same here. Look. And you can put the buckles by yourself, the carabine by yourself. It's with buckles.
Yeah.
This is how we sell them. You can buy your buckle. There was something else that I want to mention.
We also have different sizes
Different sizes,
in the reins.
because if you have a pony, the neck will be shorter, and then you have a very long loops here. So then it's nicer to have it a little bit shorter. So we have pony, cup, and size also for the reins. That makes it all a little bit more complicated, but yeah, I think it's very important to have a tool that is very good equipment that is practical to use and very effective.
Yes.
And it should not disturb the horse, but it should also not disturb you as a rider.
Yeah.
It should be functional. So I hope with this movie that we explained a little bit more and a little bit better.
If not, please send us an email
And
with
ask.
more questions,
Yes.
and we will make a little movie about your question.
And we will be happy to answer your questions.
Of course.
Thank you for listening, and hopefully we see you somewhere. Bye bye.